Gosh, this is a great crowd. It makes me very proud to be here to see my brothers and sisters are Patriots. We're all Patriots. And for those of you who don't know about Oath Keepers, I want you to look at that website. It's oathkeepers.org, a great organization. Oath Keepers is comprised of police officers, firefighters, military, first responders, present and former. Oath Keepers support individuals who support the Constitution of the United States of America. And I want you folks to know that we have an Oath Keeper that'll be coming up shortly. And it's amazing that we're on the verge of a very important occurrence. We are still free of tyranny, but the time of sitting on the fence is over. You're going to have to make a decision. So with great pleasure, I want to present, and I thank Carolyn, Greg, and you beautiful people, Patriots here in Redlands, that I present to you Paul Schrader, the next sheriff of San Bernardino County.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Paul Schrader. I think I've met most of you out here. I've been here a few times. I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. I was born in Arizona. We moved to Arkansas when I was young. So I was raised in Arkansas. I was raised in the South. And in the South, most people carry guns. You get used to hunting. You get used to fishing. Just regular type folk things. Well, whenever I turned 17, my mom signed the papers and I went to the Marine Corps and came out to California. Any Marines out there? Hoorah! All right. So anyway, I came out here and I decided to stay. And I've been out here working as a peace officer for 30 years. Married to the same wife for 25 years, Judy. Judy, raise your hand. That's one of the most, I would say that is the most beautiful woman in the state of California. If Tim was here, I would have to tell him that, but he left. Tim has 5 boys. I have 5 girls, you know. I don't know if there's a race going on here, but, you know, I do have 5 girls. You know, we've raised our kids in a conservative household, a Christian household, and that's just the way that I was raised. That was the way my wife was raised. And we want to make sure and impart to them a better place to live in Southern California, and for us particularly, San Bernardino County. Now, being in the Marine Corps for 4 years, went to the Sheriff's Department. Some of my background in the Sheriff's Department, I've supervised risk analysis teams, administrative functions. I've worked patrol. At one point, I was asked to cut $70 million off our budget at the Sheriff's Department that I work at. And myself and my team were actually able to go in and cut $70 million off of our budget. The budget we have where I work at is $2.5 billion. The one we have here in San Bernardino County is $500 million. I have an administrative background. I've been able to do things within our department that has given me the ability to learn what it would be to be a sheriff and how to run a department. Whenever I talk to people about running a department, I think one thing that you need is you need someone that has run a small business. I've owned 3 small businesses and worked as a police officer. So I know what it takes to run a business. I know the blood, the sweat, and the tears, and that's one thing I'm going to bring with me to the Sheriff's Department. I'm going to bring to me the background of being able to know what we're spending and what's going on in our budget. So that's a little bit about my background. I just really want to let everyone know here, I'm a constitutional sheriff's candidate. I believe that if you're the sheriff, you should be upholding the Constitution and defending the rights of the people. If your sheriff is doing this, you're going to feel the freedom. You're going to feel what you need to feel. If that sheriff is doing his functions. I'm an oath keeper. I'm a Marine. I'm a family man. I'm a dad. I'm a Christian. I am part of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. If you guys know Sheriff Mack, I got his endorsement. You don't get Sheriff Mack's endorsement unless you are a constitutional sheriff's candidate or constitutional sheriff. Some of my mentors are Sheriff Lope, Gene Wilson, John DiAgostini. These are sheriffs in the state of California. A lot of people might even not know about them, but they are constitutional sheriffs, and they're up north, and they're fighting the good fight up there to make sure that their counties are holding up the Constitution, defend the people's rights. And that's what I want to bring here. I did hear Tim say that he did have someone from Hollywood that was backing him. I have Eric Estrada backing me. Does anyone remember Chips? A little story about myself and Eric. I met him several years ago, and we just kind of hit it off. And Eric is a big Second Amendment guy. He's always wanted to go shooting, and it's just funny. You see him on TV, then you see him in real life, but he's always, he's one of these guys. He has a carry concealed weapon permit. He's always carrying his gun, but he's always asking me, why don't you have your gun with you all the time? And I say, I do. But he's always looking for it. He's trying to figure out where I have my gun because he's always got his gun on. You can see this big thing popped out here. But, Eric just did the Christmas parade here a few weeks ago in Hollywood, and he had a ticket for me to be there. And I totally forgot about it. So he calls me up and he says, where are you at? And I told him, I said, well, I'm in Rancho Cucamonga. He said, well, I have your space here. I said, well, give it to someone else. I'm sorry, I forgot about it. So I had a lot of people call me up when they found out, and they said, can I have your seat? And I said, I'm sorry, I forgot about it. But I got a good friend in Eric Estrada. He's a good Second Amendment guy. I'm hoping to bring him out here some and do some events with him, because I think what he would do is he'll draw some attention to our Second Amendment problems, and hopefully he'll be able to raise awareness to the Second Amendment and hopefully some of the issues that we're having with gun rights, and basically what's happening is how they're being taken away and how they're being whittled away from us. Now, several things that I want to talk about this evening. Number one is the Second Amendment. I am your Second Amendment candidate. I will never, ever, if you walk away from this place and you want to know one thing about me, I will never have a gun buyback. I had to stop for a minute there, wondering if I was in the right place. When the appointed sheriff got appointed, first thing he did is went out and had a gun buyback. Now I noticed, I think Philip already left. Myself and Philip and some of the people from the Tea Party here, we went out and actually protested that event. And we took a federal firearms license dealer out there with us, and we got some people with cash, and we went to that gun buyback, and we stood up at the very front of that gun buyback. And we're actually diverting cars over into our parking area. I'm serious about the Second Amendment. I am really serious about this. As your sheriff, I want to make sure that you have the right to carry. It really doesn't matter what I think, it's what the Second Amendment says. And when I talk to people about the Second Amendment, I say, remember this. It's to defend yourself from the tyranny of the federal government. There's a second part to that, and it's about militias. I've talked to militias. We have militias in this county. I want to work with militias. I want to make sure that we have a posse. We have people that can help us out in times of need. Thank you. Sheriff John DiAgostini up in El Dorado County, man, I like that guy. He's on the ball. Whenever there's a problem, man, he's out front. I saw him over here in Ontario about a few weeks ago, and I was talking to him because he is a good mentor, and I kind of figure out ways to do things and how he's doing things. One person in his county actually owns a tank. I love it. I love it. People, they get a little bit, I talk, this is a nonpartisan position. I talk to a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of groups. I get invited to a lot of groups. Now, I just got the endorsement from the National Hispanic Peace Officers Association. That's a big deal. These are conservative Hispanic peace officers, and there's other people in the group, not just Hispanics, but I was very proud to get that because it shows that this group is a conservative group. They want to do the right thing, especially one of the big things that they were drawn to. I was actually called by the president, and he said, it's your stance on the Second Amendment, that you want to make sure people have the right to keep and bear arms. And, whenever we had open carry, and I was out there protesting that whenever they were wanting to take that away from us. Now, some people said, well, what's the big deal? I think if we're going to have open carry, you might as well be packing and it should be loaded. I mean, this is ridiculous. Okay, some of the things I'm going to do when it comes to carry concealed weapon permits in this county, I like to talk about this because people say, what are you going to do? We have been pushing the current administration to open that up and make sure that it is fair and that you start handing them out. And, we protested the gun buyback, and we've said, please don't have another one because we're going to be out there and we're going to take maybe 100 people. We're not going to come out with a handful. We're going to come out with 100, and we're going to come out with signs, and we're going to act like we're really ticked off. So what I want to do with the carry concealed weapon permit process, it shouldn't take a year and a half to get a carry concealed weapon permit and then maybe be told no. What I want to do, and I've talked to attorneys at Cal Guns, and I've talked to some attorneys, and basically we should be able to do this thing in a month. There's no reason for a year and a half. You can come in, you can start the process. It's real easy. If I had a police car out here, you gave me your information, I could go out and find out immediately if you're a felon. It wouldn't take that much. It's not. I tell people to be sheriff. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. You just need to be able to make common sense decisions. That's it. And you bring some experts around you that's going to be able to help you make those hard decisions, and they're going to be able to help guide you. But you'll end up making the final decision. But when we're talking about the carry concealed weapon permit process, it's real easy. You come in. The background is done pretty much immediately, the initial check. If there's no red flags in your process, then all of a sudden we're going to turn and start working on this in an expeditious manner. We're not going to send people out to your house and say, hey, your neighbor over here wants to get a carry concealed permit and he wants to carry a gun. And all of a sudden your neighbor's freaking out going, oh, well, what's he want a gun for? They don't need to know your business. I don't need to go, thank you. I don't need to go to your employer and talk to your employer about, hey, what kind of guy is this? Is he a good employee? I really don't care. You can be a bad employee. You should be able to have your Second Amendment rights upheld. Thank you. So what I'm saying, if you walk away from here, two things I want you to know. Never have a gun buyback, never support one. And I will ensure that you are able to get a carry concealed weapon permit as long as you're not a felon, as long as you're not mentally ill. Now that second part is where I have questions, because there are lists that the state puts out saying these people are mentally ill. What if you had an incident 5 years ago where maybe a family member passed away and you had to be put on psychotropic meds? You just went in and said, hey, I'm going crazy. You take the medication, you're done, your name's still on that list. If you come in and your name is on a list and you apply for a carry concealed weapon permit, We are going to take that by case basis. There's no way that you should be denied a permit, which should already this should be a shall issue state anyway, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to work within their parameters. So, we'll work that on a case-to-case basis. But the Second Amendment, I am your Second Amendment guy. I want to make sure that anything that's put out that is an affront to the Second Amendment, I will be writing the letters, I will be standing out, I will be, hopefully nullifying anything that the federal government puts out. We do not have to enforce federal laws. We don't enforce federal laws, so that's pretty easy. I just want to make sure people know that I am your Second Amendment sheriff. I am the guy that will defend your rights to carry. Now, very, very simple. This county is 22,000 square miles. A lot of people will not even carry a gun. They won't even have one in their house unless they think they have some kind of blessing from somebody or someone in law enforcement that says it's okay. I want to make sure people know it's okay. I want to make sure people know, and I want them to get out to the ranges. I'm a lifetime member of Front Sight. I want to make sure people go, all right. I want to make sure people go out there and actually practice and are proficient. But Second Amendment, I'm sold on it. I'm sold on the Second Amendment. The Fourth Amendment. I like to talk about the Fourth Amendment. Now, there are things that we do in this county that I will not do. I tell people, it might tick some people off, and they might think, "Wow, this is kind of an arrogant guy," but really, it's not. I want to defend your rights. The red light cameras. We will never, ever, if I'm sheriff, ever write a ticket on that red light camera. All this stuff I'm talking about is freedom. It's all about upholding your rights, defending the Constitution, and doing the right thing, making common sense decisions. Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure. You've got the red light camera taking a picture of you. Now, as a peace officer, I have to have probable cause to stop you. I don't know what that camera is doing. I don't know what kind of probable cause. I just know it's making somebody some money. We don't need that money. I don't care what they do with that money. I don't want that money. Now, yeah, we don't get it anyway. Thank you. And you can't cross-examine. You're supposed to be able to cross-examine your accuser. What do? Go ask the camera, "Hey, what did you see me doing?" Click, 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 click. It's taking pictures of me again. Might get some more fines. So the cameras, they can, if the cities want to keep them, try to figure out how to operate them. I'm going to be on those cities and asking them to get them out of there, because we're not going to force any kind of city, with those cameras. I'm done with those. Thank you. Another thing, and it has to do with the Fourth Amendment, DUI roadblocks, DUI checkpoints. A lot of people think, wow, I would never be against those, because they get a lot of drunk drivers off the streets and they save lives, and wow, they're just good. Well, again, I believe it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Thank you. And I'm not an attorney, and I'm not a judge, but I know my job as a peace officer. I have to have probable cause to pull you over. How does someone say, judges can be wrong too? We see judges make stupid decisions every day. What I'm doing is making policy changes within the department. So when you elect me as sheriff, we will not have DUI checkpoints anymore. This is the thing. The Federal Transportation Authority says at a DUI checkpoint, they'll stop 1,000 cars. Good for them. Out of that 1,000 cars, they'll arrest 3 drunk drivers. And I think, wow, that's great. We got 3 drunk drivers off the road, and we violated 997 people's rights. It's got to stop. I hear stories about people getting stopped. You know, they're getting their cars towed. Again, we start looking, is this a money-making thing? Let's start towing cars. We're writing people tickets. We're getting in their cars. What probable cause did you have? Can I go stand out in the middle of the road as a police officer in uniform and just say, okay, every third car, I think today I'll just, I'll set up my own roadblock. The swabbing of the mouth. See, this is where we're going with these roadblocks. They're now stopping people at these roadblocks, and they're wanting to take DNA samples by swabbing inside your mouth. Are we going too far here? Yes. Okay, thank you. You got to have a sheriff that's going to stand up and say no. We're getting federal funds to run these roadblocks? No, I don't need your money. You can take it back. I mean, give me your money and let me, give me your money and let me do what I want to do with it. But don't tell me I got to do a roadblock. What I'm going to do, so when you walk away from here, you don't tell anyone that Paul Schrader just wants to let the drunks go and he doesn't want to do anything with them. And he said, yeah, we're going to be able to drink and shoot guns in the air and just, woo. Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. What I want to do is I want to have a saturation patrol. Saturation patrols are guys that want to get out here and arrest drunk drivers. And what we will do, instead of having a DUI roadblock, I'll get 10 deputies that like to arrest drunk drivers, and we'll put them in an area where we would normally have a roadblock, and we can put it in a paper. And what we will do is just tell them, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go out here and arrest drunk drivers. They'll have probable cause. Each of those guys will probably get 1 to 2 drunk drivers off the road instead of 3 out of 1,000. No one's rights are going to be violated. So which would you rather have? 997 people's rights being violated or just getting drunks off the road? It's common sense decisions is what we're making here. These are policy decisions that can be made. It's the right thing to do. It really is. When we start looking at the sheriff's department, some of the reasons that I want to run, and that's why I ran in 2010. If you don't know, I ran in 2010, and I ran for 5 months. It was myself, my wife, my 5 girls, and a couple sporadic supporters. And we ran for sheriff in this county, and we ran for 5 months with 10 grand, and we got 40,000 votes. At that time, I ran against another appointed sheriff who was set in office for 1.5 years, and he had $250,000 and a bunch of stuff going on. He got 119,000 votes. So with my team of 5 little girls and my wife and myself and 10 grand and some sporadic help, I think we did pretty good. I think this time we have over 500 volunteers throughout the county. We are getting money in. We do have a lot of help in like-kind services and printing and radio and things of this nature. So this time we're really going to do an amazing thing. It's going to be historic. You're going to have someone from the outside actually take out an appointed sheriff. That position is supposed to be elected, not selected. Now, we've been looking really hard at the budget, and one thing we're noticing is they're looking at about $30 million a year in lawsuits. Now, we're not a rich county, and our budget's about $500 million, and we have 1,700 deputies, about 2,000 professional staff, and about 2,000 volunteers. I want to work on the volunteers and try to double that, because the volunteers at that department are valuable. We have search and rescue. We have a lot of different people, mounted patrol. We have a lot of functions, and I want to make sure we build up that volunteer base. But one thing I'm looking at are these lawsuits. And it's pretty sad because no one's looking outside the box. If you notice, every year it's pretty much they're paying kind of the same. No one's looking and saying, what can we do to curtail this? If this was my business and you were the CEO and you were personally involved in a lawsuit, which the appointed sheriff was just personally a defendant in a lawsuit, he fired a deputy who took time off to take care of his dying mother. It was in the newspaper. The deputy ended up getting $800,000 in a settlement, and then they paid out probably another $800,000 in litigation to his attorneys. If that was my CEO, he would be gone. He was personally involved in this. Now, talking about that, we got to look at the overall situation with that budget. And if you're looking at $30 million going out in litigation, you need to figure out what is the problem. You do have frivolous lawsuits. They'll tell you right now, $30 million is just part of doing business. Are you kidding me? This is our money. It's not part of doing business. And this is our business, and we happen to be the stakeholders in this business, and I'm done with paying $30 million a year. Thank you. So again, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I'm going to say, okay, I'm a common sense guy. What can we do to help reduce the cost of litigation? We can look at our dear city of Rialto. They put flex cameras on their officers. Their use of force, their complaints went down 85%. 85%. Now, you know if it goes down 85%, your lawsuits are probably going to go down about maybe 60, 65%. We've got something right there that's a proven tool that we can put on our deputies out in the field. They're called flex cameras. I'm looking at them right now and looking at cost, and we're probably looking under $1 million. So we have $1 million investment in flex cameras. And all of a sudden, we go down to $15 million a year in litigation. It's a no-brainer. It's not. We look at the training issues on some of the litigation we got going on. We had a young lady that was shot here recently, and she was sitting in her house. She just got beat up by her husband, and the deputies told her to go in. And everything I'm talking about, they had it in the newspaper. They asked her to go inside the house. When she went in the house, she was hugging on a pillow. The deputy came in and she had her gun out, and she saw the girl with a pillow, and she says, "Where's your hands?" And the deputy shot twice and shot the lady in the leg. Okay, so they got her some help, but they decided we're going to arrest this lady, the one that was sitting on the couch, who was a victim of getting beat up by her husband for assault with a deadly weapon. She's sitting on her couch where they told her to sit. Now, they had to release her, and they ended up paying her $660,000 in litigation. We're talking about training issues on some of this, but we need to think outside the box. These things shouldn't be happening. We're going to have some of it happen. You're going to have, deputies accidentally shoot people. You're going to have people make frivolous lawsuits. But we have got to start thinking outside the box when it comes to this. We also have some bad spending practices, and I'm not trying to bore you to death with this, but I just want to let you know the financial situation that we're dealing with in this department, and no one's doing anything. We've got $25 million overspent at Adelanto Jail. They were doing an expansion out there, and it's still not complete. Now, if they're unable to complete it, the state will go ahead and take it back because they put money into it also. If they do complete this jail, they're going to have to spend $32 million to staff it. They don't have $32 million to staff it. They didn't budget it. They didn't forecast what they were going to need for this. So again, here we've got a situation where our money's being spent, and I think in a frivolous manner. They should have thought this out. We're also looking at overtime being spent in this department, and no one has ever set up a budget for overtime. It just comes out of the general fund. They can forecast that every year. They know how much is being spent. So I think things that we can look at and make better is the budget, the way we do patrol. One thing I want to do, and if you live in a county area or an area that's contracted by the Sheriff's Department, We want to change the way we're doing patrol. One thing we're going to do is we're going to put patrol dogs back out in the sheriff's department. I don't know. Thank you. A few years ago, they took the dogs away from the sheriff's department because the sheriff's department wasn't paying the deputies to take care of their dogs off duty, to take them to the vet, to clean them. All the departments give deputies normally 4 hours of overtime a week. And they do this so that when they're off duty, they'll make sure their dogs are taken to the vet, they're cleaned, they're doing whatever they have to do with their dogs. Anyway, these deputies sued the department ended up paying out some money to them, and they took the dogs from the deputies. They punished the deputies and they punished us. I want to bring those dogs back because each dog is equal to 2.5 deputies along with his trainer. I think that's a money-saving deal. It's going to save in some shootings. It's going to save in some litigation. If someone's got a gun and they see a deputy with a dog and that dog is barking and over there growling, most of the time that person will surrender. It's going to save us some money so that we don't get sued in some kind of shooting where hopefully we got a dog bite and we probably will get sued, but it won't be like in a shooting. So there's things that I want to do to change the way we're doing patrol functions. I want to bring the 10 dogs on immediately whenever I come on. I want to start a 501c3 so the community can help us pay for that dog. I've got some people that would already like to do that. So is there any questions? I know I'm probably getting close to time.
Yeah, we have time for a few questions here. So I suppose the dogs are your way to take a bite out of crime?
What's that?
The dogs are your way to take a bite out of crime?
We want to take a bite out of crime. That's right.
Questions? Whew.
Schrader brings the dogs back.
Two things that I have is one, I have a question, and I want to relay to you an incident that happened over the Christmas holidays. Over the Christmas holidays, I was privileged to be at a party with the California Highway Patrol and a special force within that, and your name came up. And I will tell you, they were very, very favorable in endorsing you and said so many nice things about you. So I just want to convey that to you personally.
Thank you.
I was excited about that.
Thank you.
My other question is this. I've read across the nation that some of the Humvees coming out of the Afghanistan, etc., are being now funneled into our local police forces. Do you have an opinion on that? When they're bringing them in, they're supposed to retrofit them, but they're supposed to be used on the local level. But these things are military Humvees, there are military tanks coming into the local community. What is your opinion on that?
Okay, are you asking if we would use them in our department?
I'm asking basically what your opinion is on that, even on the local police, municipal police.
Okay. First of all, I think I know where you're going with this question. The local sheriff is not the military. The way I look at the sheriff's department, I look at it kind of like whenever you used to watch the old Andy Griffith show. That's the way your sheriff should be. I'm serious. You think I'm joking? We're here to help you. We're not here to knock your teeth out, to drag you to jail. We are here to help you. And that's what I would see in that old show. You would see, and it was a show, it's not reality, but there is a bit of truth to that. We don't need these military vehicles. We have what we need in our SWAT teams to do the jobs, but we don't need to go any further into the military garb. If anything, what we're wearing should be more citizen friendly. And I'm not trying to say that, well, we need to start wearing flowers and, maybe, I don't know. But I just want to make sure that we're there to help. I don't want to come off as some kind of black ops group where it looks like we're getting ready to knock your door in or something like that. And just along that line, if you know about NDAA, does anyone in here know about NDAA? Okay, that's another subject, but it's where they want to come in. If the federal government feels that you violated a certain crime under the NDAA Act, National Defense Authorization Act, they can come in your house in the middle of the night or in the daytime and arrest you with no habeas corpus. Now, if that happens in this county, you're going to see a sheriff go crazy trying to find you. And if we're able to find out who did that, they will go to jail. That is an unconstitutional arrest. They can't come and take a U.S. citizen unless they charge you with a specific crime and your habeas corpus is upheld. Yes, sir.
Paul, could you comment on how increased CCW will affect police officer safety? I'd like to hear your comments on that, and it's a major concern of mine.
Oh, thank you. How will CCWs help make police officers more safe, or a safety issue? It's a proven fact. If you notice in any city or any county where they've opened up the carry concealed weapon permit use, crime goes down. It's a fact. Now, that's not my information. It's the information that comes out of the Department of Justice. They've done these surveys. They have the information. Police officers will have to be a little more understanding whenever they understand that there's going to be more people in this county packing than any other county in the state of California. But I think this is going to be a safer county. The deputies are going to end up appreciating it more. I've talked to a lot of my friends that are in law enforcement, and those that are oath keepers, they're into the Constitution. Most of them, I would say at least 80% would like to see more CCWs. There's about 20% that said that the only people who should have guns are the cops. So, you know, I'm a part of that 80%. Did that answer your question? Yes. Okay, you're welcome.
I'm glad to hear that you're going to run as a constitutional sheriff and that you have the endorsement of Sheriff Mack, who I highly respect. Speaking of the Constitution, California again passed a highly unconstitutional bill recently, Assembly Bill 4. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But basically, I want to make sure I word this correctly. It instructs sheriff's departments to not cooperate with ICE and Border Patrol when they place a detainer on illegal aliens unless they have certain felonies. If you're elected to sheriff, will you honor that law or ignore it?
Very interesting question. If you're in my jail and you're an illegal alien and you've committed a crime, ICE will interview you. Yep. It's pretty easy. Yep. I believe the process to citizenship in this country is pretty easy. And when I say pretty easy, the process is set out on what you must do. I don't think you should jump ahead of the line, but I think if you come here and commit a crime, that at least we should pay courtesy enough to allow you to go back to your country of origin.
My name is Raymond, and up in the high desert, 3 houses away from the Little League field, there was $1 million of drug cartel money found, 7 AK-47s, and it's throughout the county. The city of Redlands has black tar going through it, you know, killing its residents, and being that, you know, you want to be the fire and the sword of the magistrate, what will you do different than, you know, other sheriffs in other counties? I mean, would you enforce the law outright, or would you, like, circumvent the law, you know?
Wow. Well, I'm going to enforce the law. All laws, we don't enforce all laws. And when I say that, when we go out and work patrol, sometimes someone's in a situation where you're not required to make an arrest everywhere you go. And hopefully I'm answering this. We're not going to pick and choose the laws that we enforce, but if a deputy is out on patrol and he decides, you know, this is not a really big thing, you always have that opportunity there to enforce the color of the law. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're going to enforce the law. Yes. Equally. Yes. The law will be enforced equally. There's no this for these people and this for this people. It's equal across the board. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You said you're very willing to issue CCWs. My question is, if you have a CCW from another county in California and you move to San Bernardino County, are you going to require a completely new application process, or will you just reissue? This happened to me a couple of years ago. I had a CCW from Mendocino County, came down here. The sheriff said I had to go through the whole rigmarole again. It was going to cost me $500, and I said, forget it.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that $500 because we are going to knock those fees down. I don't want it to cost us money, but I don't want to be making money off of the carry concealed weapon permit process. One thing I'll tell you, and I'll answer your question, but if it's listed in the phone book and it's a job, we shouldn't be doing it. That job of doing backgrounds for carry concealed weapon permits should be done by a private investigator. I don't need a deputy paying him $135,000 a year, including benefits, to run backgrounds on people that are, wanting a gun. It's not going to change. It's not going to change anything. We're going to put the investigator doing criminal stuff and doing what he really needs to be working on, putting hardcore criminals in jail. With your question, the only thing that I would want to require is that you fill out everything again, and we do that initial check on you. And as long as everything and nothing has changed, it shouldn't be a problem. The only thing I would have to do is make sure that I checked with the Cal Guns attorneys. I haven't had that question yet. The big question I had was expediting this and going out to residents and some of the things that we're doing now that we don't have to do. But I think that should be something that we're able to do because I don't want anyone spending a lot of money to get this permit. So I hope I've answered your question.
If we can ask Paul to stick around after the meeting and continue to answer some of your questions. Is that going to work?
Give him one more. One other thing. If you need further information about me, go to sheriffpaul2014.com. Also, we have some ladies up here that have our sheets to sign if you want to help me get on the ballot. We have signature sheets, and also we have envelopes. If you'd like an envelope to help financially support us, we have envelopes up here. We'd appreciate it. Or if you raise your hand, we'll have someone bring you one. So thank you very much.